Okay, so I watched Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind today, and it was a really good movie. I liked it. Thought that there was, like you had previously said, there's a lot of moral issues, but there's also a lot of good things in there, where you see Joel and Clementine have their memory erased, but in having their memory erased, they kind of go through a time and a way of reliving their life and their good times as well as their bad times to realize that maybe they really are okay together. And then, then meeting up after their memory was erased, meeting up at that beach again, and then finding out that they did have their memory erased, but that they still wanted to be with each other. It's kind of a sweet story within a long story of moral issues galore. There was the Lacuna Incorporated place that erases your memory. There was the fact that that place also involved other people and keeping a secret for the people. Like his friends were supposed to not tell him about the fact that Clementine had her memory erased. And they were not supposed to mention Clementine and try and make him steer away from her because she had her memory erased of him and she didn't remember him and him coming around, and it could mess with him, and they weren't supposed to tell him. And that delves into some moral issues. Then there's the drunk driving of Clementine driving drunk and wrecking the car. There's being put to sleep and then having the people come into your home, and while you're trusting them to come into your home and erase your memory, they are smoking pot, they're jumping on the bed, they're using you as a table to eat off of. And I feel like that kind of goes back to Kant and his universalizing and respecting a person as a rational being. That's not really respecting the person as a rational being, that's just treating them as an inanimate object, really. To me, it's not okay. But then there's Patrick, and when they did Clementine's memory erasing, he stole her panties and then started dating her, and then he's kind of lying to her. And that also goes back to Kant and universalizing the maxim, and that's not something you want to universalize. It's lying to a girl or a guy and acting like you're somebody you're not to get them to date you. It's not respecting them as a person or anything like that. There's also, which goes back to Kant again, giving her Joel's Valentine's Day present as his own. That's not being truthful, and that's not being moral, because that's not something you knew that she would like. That's something Joel knew she would like, and then you give it to her. That's kind of lying to her in a way, and that's back to Kant theory again. Them not watching the monitor and being more self-involved in themselves is a moral issue, as far as you wouldn't want somebody to do that to you. And I know that we say that we don't really want people to judge based on what we would want them to do. We just need to be treating everyone equally, but it's kind of how you're brought up. Don't do something to somebody you wouldn't want done to you. And that's just how I think of it, I guess. Is I wouldn't want somebody to be jumping on the bed and smoking pot and acting funny and not paying attention to the monitor when they're doing something as serious as erasing a memory. Then there goes back to Joel's memories, and when he's trying to hide with him and Clementine so that he can save her in his memories, there's the little kids egging him on to kill the bird. That poor innocent little bird that didn't ask to be dead, that didn't do anything to them. That goes back to the utilitarian view. They would be okay with that if it was for a better purpose, if he was going to eat the bird or something. He wasn't. The kids were just egging him on, and he killed the bird for no reason. So that wouldn't, morally, I don't think anybody, libertarians, utilitarians, egalitarians, nobody would agree with the fact that he did that. And I think that was more of a being picked on thing, which those little kids, nobody would agree with that. And that was a moral issue. There's the drunk driving, like I stated before. The utilitarian would be against the drunk driving I don't really know. I think that they would say that it's not promoting virtue to drink and drive and possibly cause property damage or loss of life. The utilitarian, I actually found an article where a libertarian, was talking about the fact that drunk driving should be legalized and not illegal, because your profiling based on driving, like just because somebody's a bad driver doesn't mean that they're drunk. And they also stated that sober drivers cause accidents also, and it's not always a drunk driver that hurts somebody, hits somebody, causes damage. It's sober drivers also. And libertarians like for the government to stay out of issues and stay out of decisions that are being made. So they would not want them involved in the whole issue in the thing. Also, they would say that just because they're a bad driver I think I stated that, just because they're a bad driver doesn't mean that they're drunk. They could be sober and just a bad driver. To quote the author of the article I read, sorry, that's what I was reading, he said, bank robbers may tend to wear masks, but the crime they commit has nothing to do with the mask. In the same way, drunk drivers cause accidents, but so do sober drivers, and many drunk drivers cause no accidents at all. The law should focus on violations of person and property, not scientific oddities like blood content. So this is saying something like along the lines of Clementine. She drove the car into a fire hydrant, caused some property damage. She should be, when she's charged, if she would have been charged, the police would have been there, then she should have been charged with property damage and causing an accident, not necessarily being charged with drunk driving, because that is just it was a side effect of it, but it wasn't the whole effect. So when somebody is in a car and they're driving and they're drunk, if they get caught with the blood alcohol content and they have caused serious issues, then the blood alcohol content shouldn't be what they're charged with. If they've killed somebody, they should be charged with murder, not murder and driving while impaired, because libertarians don't think that that should be involved. So I agree, not completely. I think that there should be regulations, because there needs to be a way to say this is where you cross the line, and this is where I can say that you cross the line, and I have it that you have crossed the line, because without that line, I think people will just continue to do whatever they want to do, and then that's when we run into the issues of people are not always moral. Just because we think they should be doesn't mean they are. So, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind was a good movie. Had the moral issues and the very sweet parts of it.